Good morning, class. As we learned in the videos this week, that Hobbes has been a promoter of monarchy and envisioned a centralized form of government in which all control would reside with the monarch. Now, as the professor discusses, is a society in which the society under the central state is able to live their life freely and essentially do what they want to do so long as they are abiding under all the established rules known as civil association. Now, this requires no commonalities other than just sole obedience to the central government or monarch. Additionally, he expands upon this by describing the standing up of groups or groups of people who form clubs, gangs, unions, etc. And now they're led not by the central state, but by their own representation, or whether it's voted representation or just someone's claiming to be a leader. And so these branch off groups of other cities or towns, or now you can have a branching off of actual cities and towns, are formed and now are led under the leadership of their own mayors, council, etc. Now, this increase in scale becomes a problem for the central government because now you have a potential conflict of political wills, ideals with these leaders and the central government, which can be the beginning of anarchy, as the professor describes. The monarch is forced to gain and maintain control over these organizations of people. And once this is achieved, then they will be allowed to continue only under the civil association established by the central government. So the central government really has to keep an eye on these groups and kind of force them to fall in line and do what they're told. Now, the problem with this form of government, as we would see with monarchs and later in France post the revolution, with their form of a republic, is being able to keep it at a small scale. So, as the videos allude to, and as we know with monarchs, republics, they work well as small entities, a small thing. But when you have France post revolution that has expanded to millions of people, it's not really that small of a scale. And as we have already noted, the continued growth of these individual quasi societies underneath these governments, they become so expansive that now the central government struggles to maintain absolute control to that lowest level. This is not to say that they've lost control altogether. It's not anarchy yet, but it can be. And maintain the civil association for these individual clubs, unions, groups, pick your name. It ultimately proves to be quite difficult. And we see that today in modern society. But what we see with modern society is, yes, we have a centralized government. It branches down into the individual state governments, mayors, but how much control outside of the pre-established rules do they really have on these smaller groups? So I would say the larger the scale poses more of a problem for these governments. Thank you. It's been great working with you all in the class.